we're still using 20th century measurement of what's a rating in this day. And we still have Nielsen, you still have all those things that factor into it. It's a view of the world that just doesn't reflect the reality of the value of the property and the value of how people care about the properties. Yes, it's what we've had for a long time, but it certainly is not reflective of the engagement in the sport. And I think that's what leagues, teams should care about, is the engagement in their product, in the sport. It's not about who tunes in for an average of however many minutes it is for an hour, inclusive of advertising. And it was really set up to rate and be able to kind of create the commercial pod so people could sell off of it. So to me, it's more a transactional measurement in that stand versus a fan engagement positioning. So I think it would be better for everyone to just, stop talking about what ratings were and really look at the engagement impact. And unfortunately, it's kind of all that the journalists have to talk about these days is just ratings are up or down, but nobody cares.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. And there were public comments, right? About, well, the NBA, has great engagement. It has great global growth. It's reaching a really difficult audience. This younger generation, is more engaged, cares more about the NBA. But how the old pay TV and free to air business model work. These guys are going backwards, right? So they're writing that bigger check. Do you think they will be able to make commensurately more money? Or are they just holding on to a legacy business model? Is this like the whole innovator's dilemma thing, or what's going on?
I think the benefit of the system today, whether it's entertainment, sports, news, even news from that standpoint, is the value proposition usually inures to the owner of the IP or the creator of the programming, where historically it went to all of the middlemen, whether that was the pay TV system, cable operators, satellite providers, or the studio system, or whatever it is. And now what you're finding is more and more of a larger percentage of the revenue is finding its way to the IP holder. And look, the NBA, their money certainly is not going down. The NFL's money is not going down. Right. We'll see what happens with MLB. And I was surprised, even NASCAR money did not go down. The UFC, they're talking about, 4 or 5X, in their proposition. So the IP holders are, driving in some way, shape, or form incredible value for their product. Unfortunately, the people who are paying the most for it are getting less and less out of it. And at some point that system, falls apart. And I think you can look at Sinclair with the RSNs as a little bit as what happens when things start to fall apart. There's much less margin for error. And when you talk about 10-year deals, well, who can determine what's going to happen, tomorrow, 3 years from now, let alone 10 years in this process. So yes, it's certainly the infrastructure that built a lot of the value increases for sports over the last 20 years is in significant and unstoppable decline. It really is a question of how do you broaden your positioning and how do you find a way to distribute and reach into your audience and engage them in a way that you can create different value proposition for.